Conflict has broken out in the Middle East, and a central character in all of this is the Saudi Crown Prince and Prime Minister Mohammed bin Salman, commonly referred to as MBS. For the last 8 years, he's been called a villain by the mainstream media. I'm going to take a closer look at MBS, because it is time we expose the truth. I realize that anything involving the Middle East is a topic that people get upset about. Before people ask, let me just say that I am not funded by anyone. I'm just an ordinary American with a small YouTube channel. No one pays me to make these videos. I'm completely independent. I do my own research, and I bring you the stories that the mainstream media is lying to you about. And this story is a big one that impacts what is going on right now in the Middle East. Whatever you think about the conflict, we need to start thinking about how we are going to end it. And the US cannot end it without the help of MBS. A lot of people are fixated on Israel, but that is only part of what is going on. A major factor is the conflict between Shia and Sunni Muslims. Iran is primarily Shia, and Saudi Arabia is primarily Sunni. And these two groups have been fighting for hundreds of years. In the last week, Iran has not just attacked Israel, they've attacked Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Kuwait, Jordan, Oman, Iraq, and Saudi Arabia. These other Muslim countries are a major factor in this conflict, and MBS is one of the key leaders. Saudi Arabia is a monarchy. Whoever is the king controls the national wealth, including all the oil in Saudi Arabia. MBS has been ranked the 8th most powerful man in the world. His personal wealth is in the billions of dollars. The American people have been told for years that we are supposed to hate MBS. The only world leaders who are more villainized than MBS are probably Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un. Let me show you a recent example of what I'm talking about.
Welcome back. So yesterday, Trump was not happy with a question asked by ABC News reporter Mary Bruce.
Is it appropriate, Mr. President, for your family to be doing business in Saudi Arabia while you're president? Is that a conflict of interest? And Your Royal Highness, the U.S. intelligence concluded that you orchestrated the brutal murder of a journalist.
As far as this gentleman is concerned, he's done a phenomenal job. You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that.
But with those criticisms and questions, really, they're not criticisms. They're just legitimate questions for somebody in his position to answer.
What happened? Because this isn't a debated topic.
Right.
Jamal Khashoggi was dismembered. Like, it wasn't just a murder, it was a violent murder.
And the body in New York.
Yes,
and
in
New York.
No. It was in Turkey, Istanbul.
But he was a resident of New York.
Yeah,
he was
a U.S. resident.
I worked with both Catherine Lucy at Bloomberg and Mary Bruce at ABC News in my prior life. They are world-class journalists. Mm-hmm. They are fair. They were asking serious questions.
Yeah.
I get chills watching a female journalist stare at MBS and ask him about ordering the dismemberment of a fellow journalist.
Yeah.
Like that, those are the kind of tough questions the free press always has to be asking.
In 2018, Jamal Khashoggi was lured to the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, where he was brutally murdered. We've been told for the last 8 years that MBS ordered the murder. We've been told this over and over again, just like what we saw on The View. Most Americans have accepted this story and have been programmed to think of MBS as a really bad guy. I will be honest, I thought that too until I started looking into it. I want you to open your mind for a minute. Just consider that you've been brainwashed for the last 8 years. Just consider the possibility that the women on The View might have their facts wrong. What if the events in 2018 were actually the opposite of what you've been told? What if Jamal Khashoggi was the villain and MBS is the hero? I know that's a shocking statement because it is completely different than everything you have heard, but just leave open the possibility. Let's go back and look at the facts. Let us start 1 year before the murder in 2017. People believe MBS was secretly staying at the Mandalay Bay Hotel on October 1st, 2017. That was the same day of the Las Vegas mass shooting that killed 60 people and injured hundreds. The shooting was committed by Stephen Paddock, who allegedly committed suicide by firing a revolver into his mouth. Although strangely, the bloodstains in the crime scene photos do not match someone committing suicide. Just to show you how crazy this is, here are the crime scene photos released by the New York Times. This is the dead body. This is the body cam footage of the police of the moment they enter the room. The body should be right here. His foot should be leaning up against the side table. Where is the dead body? Here's a second image from the body cam footage. This pixelated portion is supposedly covering up where the dead body is. But this looks like it is right next to the tile flooring. That is different than what was shown to us by the New York Times. And what is also strange about these official crime scene photos is that this gun looks like it was placed neatly on top of this guy's leg. If the guy fell over after he shot himself, how did the gun end up so neatly on top of him? Now, the police explained that he must have been lunging so his foot slid under the gun. But this whole thing seems very strange to me. The other strange thing about this shooting, compared with other mass shootings, is there was no motive. Typically, these shooters will have a manifesto or a suicide note. But when the police searched this person's home, they found nothing. He was a real estate guy in his 60s. He did not have a problematic background.
There's absolutely no way I can even conceive that my brother would shoot a bunch of people he doesn't even know. Steve had nothing to do with any political organization, religious organization, no white supremacist, nothing, as far as I know. I've only known him for 57 years. Well, he didn't hunt, he barely shot his guns ever. He had a couple of handguns that he kept in a safe. He doesn't even have parking tickets. He has no criminal record. He has no record of any affiliations. He has nothing.
Yeah, what
he gambled.
Like to do? Just normal.
He was a guy who played video poker. Now, he played at a higher level than you people do probably, but he had a lot more money than you people had. He was a wealthy guy, and he liked to play video poker. He went on cruises. He sent his mother cookies big, huge, crazy boxes of cookies and stuff.
The FBI report in 2019 said no single or clear motivating factor was found. The attack was not linked to terrorism, hate groups, political or religious ideologies. He was not mad at the hotel or MGM or the concert. There was absolutely no reason for this horrible, horrible attack. The more you look into the shooting, the more bizarre it gets.
It was the very first day that people were already alleging that they believed there was helicopters shooting at them. And there's helicopters in the videos. You can see the helicopters in the videos. And the witnesses talk about helicopters having been there in the air. And a lot of them say that they suspect that the helicopters were shooting, that they felt like the helicopters were shooting at them. But then when you read the official story, the police reports, no mention of helicopters at all. None of that at all. It's just the lone gunman. And then when you look at the flight radar data from that night, there are a lot of suspicious helicopters that take off and land from and at the two helicopter operators in the airport there.
I'm not going to get into all the details because there is a lot, and that's not the point of this video. But I will just say there were reports of multiple gunshots from machine guns from multiple locations. Since people suspect that MBS was staying in the hotel, one likely explanation was that this was an assassination attempt on his life. It sounds like there was a full gang-style war going on at that hotel. That would mean that the shooting into the crowd was an attempt to cover up a failed assassination attempt against MBS. To be clear, there is no direct evidence MBS was at that hotel. The official Saudi timeline says he was somewhere else. The reason that people believe he was there is because his cousin is a major owner of that hotel. If MBS was invited to Las Vegas, the Mandalay Bay Hotel is probably where he would stay. So if you are considering potential powerful heads of state that would be targets of an assassination attempt who would be at that hotel, MBS is at the top of that list. This also sounds suspiciously like something the CIA would be involved in. International intrigue, black helicopters. The motive could be really simple. This could have been a group of people trying to gain control of one of the world's largest oil supplies. They wanted the oil. This could be the CIA joining forces with a Saudi puppet they could put in place of MBS. This was a young prince. He was vulnerable and inexperienced. If you were going to take him out, you would want to take him out then. This attack resulted in the largest mass shooting in the history of America. This all sounds pretty wild until you find out one simple fact. Remember the death of Jamal Khashoggi. He was killed exactly 1 year to the day of the shooting in Las Vegas. That's quite the coincidence, and it makes you wonder if there's a connection between the two. If the CIA wanted to initiate a coup in Saudi Arabia, they would partner with someone like Khashoggi. The media says that he was just an innocent journalist, but he was much more than that. He was strongly opposed to MBS and had deep ties to powerful families in Saudi Arabia. After the Las Vegas shooting, MBS conducted a sweeping anti-corruption purge, arresting hundreds of princes, officials, and billionaires, including his cousin, who was the part owner of the Las Vegas hotel. Even more suspicious, the Las Vegas police captain for the Strip was John Pelletier, who later moved and became the police chief in Hawaii during the Maui wildfires. What are the odds that the same police chief oversaw two of the largest tragedies in American history? It sounds to me like he was a plant by the CIA. This raises a massive question. If the CIA and the Saudi rivals of MBS were trying to kill him, how did MBS escape assassination? Some people think he was tipped off by President Trump. If we consider that the CIA was working against Trump and other intelligence agencies like the military were working with Trump, it is possible that Trump uncovered this plot and was able to warn MBS in time for him to escape. That would explain the reaction during Trump's trip to Saudi Arabia on May 20th, 2017, 2 months before the Las Vegas shooting. Trump received and participated in the traditional Saudi sword dance. This is an extremely rare honor. They would not do this for a US president unless there was some major reason. Some people think it is because Donald Trump was delivering information that would save the life of MBS. Just remember what happened when Joe Biden visited Saudi Arabia. He was greeted by MBS with a fist bump. Do you see the difference here? Joe Biden got a fist bump, and Donald Trump received the sword dance. The contrast between the two is so great. I think there's something bigger going on here, because you cannot explain a contrast this big by saying that MBS respects Donald Trump and he does not respect Joe Biden. It has to be more than that. I think it makes more sense that MBS associates Joe Biden with the CIA forces that tried to kill him, and he credits Trump for saving his life. If that is the reality, then it all makes sense. To be clear, these are all theories and allegations. I cannot prove any of this, and we will probably never know exactly what happened. But in my opinion, I look at all of these facts, and I think there is more to this story than we are being told in the mainstream media. Let me show you what the media is basing their story on. Here is the article from the Washington Post on November 16, 2018. It claims that the CIA has concluded that MBS ordered the murder of Khashoggi. They determined this by speaking with contacts that blamed MBS. That's it. That was their evidence, speaking with anonymous contacts. The article says, the accepted position is that there is no way this happened without him being aware or involved. That seems like incredibly weak evidence for such an explosive claim. Not only that, this was a leak from an anonymous source inside the government. We don't know who this came from. In fact, the CIA declined to comment. So the CIA themselves refused to comment on this. Lindsey Graham went on Fox News and said this.
The president and Secretary of State Pompeo have sort of carved out a space where they say, well, looking at the evidence, it's not exactly clear that there was a direct link between MBS and this act.
It's crystal clear, beyond any doubt. This could not have happened without the Crown Prince knowing about it. We have a ton of intelligence that the people in charge of killing Mr. Khashoggi worked directly for the Crown Prince. His number one go-to guy orchestrated the move. He's put half his family in jail. He's been a wrecking ball when it comes to the Mideast in general, and I've had enough, and if we don't stop him now, it gets worse later. So I'm not going to support arms sales to somebody this unstable. What makes you believe he wouldn't take an American weapon system and give it to the Chinese? This guy's nuts.
I do not trust a word that man says. The Senate voted on a resolution to impose sanctions on Saudi Arabia over the murder. The bill was proposed by Bob Menendez. This is the same person who would later be sentenced to 11 years in prison for federal corruption charges, including having received gold bars. Why are all the people promoting this so shady? All of this happened while Trump was president, and he remained generally supportive of MBS. When Joe Biden took office in 2021, things changed. Almost immediately, on February 11, 2021, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence put out an official report that stated, "We assess that MBS approved an operation in Istanbul, Turkey, to capture or kill Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi." I'm going to show you the entire report. This is it. That is the whole report. It is a brief summary and a list of people involved. Where is the evidence? This is a massive allegation. What is it based on? The description says things like this. At the time of the Khashoggi murder, the Crown Prince probably fostered an environment in which aides were afraid that failure to complete assigned tasks might result in him firing or arresting them. What? This is the evidence? Do you realize now what I am saying? We have been hearing over and over again in the news for 8 years that MBS is a villain, and this document is what the reporting is based on. This is unbelievable. There is nothing here. Now, I'm not claiming that MBS is perfect. I really don't know if he's a hero or not. There are certainly things that I could criticize him about. We can criticize Saudi Arabia. There are the potential connections to 9/11. There are some brutal things they have done to their own people. I am not excusing any of that. I am focused on the fact that the US media is lying about something. What are they lying about and why? Because I feel like we should give MBS the benefit of the doubt. Put yourself in his shoes. Let us say that someone did try to assassinate him, and that failed attempt resulted in the largest mass shooting in American history. And let us say you found out that Khashoggi was responsible for this horrible, evil atrocity. Is MBS really the villain in this story? Now, I'm not saying that murder is justified. As an American, I believe that everyone deserves their day in court. But I do think it changes the story if Khashoggi was somehow involved in the Las Vegas shooting. Let's be really honest here. Every single US president in recent history has murdered people around the globe who they believed were very bad people. Aren't we being a little bit of a hypocrite? George W. Bush ordered 57 drone strikes against enemies of the United States. Obama ordered 563 drone strikes. Obama's drone strikes killed an estimated 384 to 807 civilian deaths. The US is going around the world killing hundreds of innocent civilians. Maybe we should stop pointing fingers at MBS. We don't know what happened either way with Khashoggi. I wish we had more information, but we don't. We really don't know enough to say who is the villain and who is not. But I feel like MBS has really been unfairly treated by the American press. He should be judged on the facts that we know. And if you do a little bit of research, what you find out about MBS is actually really impressive. He is married with 5 children. He says that he eats breakfast with them every day. It appears that he cares a lot about family. He has also made incredible reforms within Saudi Arabia. He made it legal to go on dates. Saudi Arabia has historically been a strict religious culture where men and women were restricted to separate spaces in public. Well, now you're allowed to go on a date in public. This is a massive step forward. He reduced the power of the religious police force. He stopped public beatings as punishment. He stopped the death penalty for crimes committed by minors. He lifted the ban on women driving. Women can now obtain passports without a male guardian's permission. Women can now start their own business without a male guardian. Women can have child custody in divorce. A woman is even the chairperson of the Saudi Stock Exchange. These are massive advancements, and we should be giving MBS some credit for this. If you look at similar countries around the world, they're not making advancements this quickly. The quality of people's lives in Saudi Arabia are improving tremendously. This is real improvement for women. Why do the women on The View not mention any of this? Again, I'm not saying MBS has done everything right. But guess what? Neither has the United States. We do some pretty horrible things as well. I just think we should give MBS some credit. It looks to me like he is someone who is trying to do his best in a very difficult part of the world.
The other question I wanted to ask you is, you're a sports fan.
Yes, definitely.
Where were you when Saudi beat Argentina in the World Cup, and what was your reaction?
I was with my family. My brothers, their wives, their kids watching the game. And actually, we just want to get out from this game with no humiliation. We get surprised.
I mean, it fired up people here. I talked to a ton of them, and they were really excited.
Let me give you one more example. MBS actually advocates for a more moderate and friendly version of the Muslim religion, and he speaks out against radicals. For instance, men and women in Saudi Arabia go to school separately. For women, the government banned wearing a abaya during exams. These are the full black robes from head to toe. Instead, women could only wear a hijab that only covers their head and neck. This is a major change by the government to not let the women wear traditional Muslim clothing. It is another step in the right direction.
For people on the outside looking at this, what would you tell them? If they want to come visit, they may be skittish about coming to Saudi Arabia because of what has been written in the past, what they see. What would you tell them?
I will tell them the greatest success story in the 21st century is Saudi Arabia. This is the story of this century. Do you want to miss it or not? That's your call.
Let me repeat that a lot of what happened with Khashoggi is allegations. We do not know the facts. I don't know if Khashoggi was a villain or not. But let me play for you again Donald Trump's comments.
You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that.
I think Donald Trump knows more than he is saying in this interview. I don't know what happened to Khashoggi, but I can tell you this. I do not trust the Washington Post, I do not trust the CIA, and I do not trust Lindsey Graham. Now that we are in conflict again in the Middle East, I think we should be more supportive of MBS because he is going to be critical in ending the conflict. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think the mainstream media is lying to us about MBS? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos. If you want to support independent journalism like this channel, consider signing up for a membership on my website, wolvesandfinance.com. For $6 a month, your support helps me to keep making these videos. Thank you to everyone who has signed up. I'm Zach from Wolves and Finance. Thank you for watching.